Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto and Temari had a political marriage after the failed Suna invasion? Desperate to keep their alliance with Konoha, the Suna council decides to offer Temari's hand in marriage to none other than Naruto, after realizing who he is. Hope you enjoy the story, and as always, please like, share and subscribe for more. Now let's start. Temari surveyed the mess in her living room with a frown. Why she let Ino talk her into hosting meetings of her fellow kunoichi, she wasn't sure. She did know that Ino was going to help her clean up the mess, or she was going to shove her fan down the girl's throat. With that in mind, Temari began the hunt for her fellow blonde. I keep forgetting how useful it is to have Naruto around, she thought as she searched. Those clones of his are great for stuff like this. Thinking about Naruto brought a scowl to her face. He'd been gone 2 weeks already, and he hadn't bothered to send her a message. The Hokage had gotten a message 2 days ago. A frantic toad had materialized right next to her during one of Tsunade's lectures. Whatever the scroll said, it hadn't been good. Tsunade had immediately turned the lecture over to Shizune and stormed from the room. After her class, Temari had summoned Gamakichi to try to get more information, but even the bribe of a huge bag of candy hadn't gotten him to talk. She supposed that was when she let Ino talk her into having the kunoichi over. With Naruto gone, it sucked to be alone. Temari eventually found Ino sitting in the garden on a bench talking to Sakura. She stopped and wondered if getting Ino to help was worth dealing with Sakura. She'd said she would help the girl, but there really wasn't anything she could do. Her problems all centered around her husband, but the girl just seemed blind to that truth. Thank you, Kami, for Naruto. He has his problems and he is going to pay for leaving on a month-long mission and just leaving me a note, but I could have been married to that jackass Uchiha. She just decided to make Sakura help clean up when the girl burst into tears. Watching Ino try to console the girl, Temari turned around and went back to the house. On second thought, I think I'll just clean up on my own. Damn you for leaving me to deal with this shit, Naruto. Prone in the snow, Naruto grimly surveyed the black stone fortress in front of him through a pair of binoculars. There was no doubt about it. He could sense several Hiraishin seals within. This was where the client and his team were. His rage simmered below the surface, and he could feel the Kyuubi trying to influence him as he reviewed the mission so far. He'd known he was chickening out when, after packing his supplies, he'd left a note telling Temari he was on an extended mission. He only stopped briefly on his way out to order Reynard to defend Temari at all costs. In his defense, he really didn't know how to break the news, but he suspected she was going to make him pay for it later anyway. With that thought pleasantly sitting in his head, he wasn't in the best of moods when he and his team arrived to find the actress they were supposed to escort had disappeared. It had taken Naruto and Team Guy most of an hour and several hundred shadow clones to find the woman sitting in a bar, refusing to leave. Having had enough, Naruto simply ordered Niji to knock the woman out and they'd loaded her on the ship bound for the land of snow. After she'd woken up, Naruto and his team discovered, to their horror, that despite being a great actress, the woman was a completely frigid bitch. When she couldn't cry for the camera without fake tears, Naruto had actually looked at her and seen that the woman was bottling all her emotions away, but he didn't know why. After trying to talk to her about it, a complete and utter failure, he'd taken a great deal of amusement in assigning Lee to attend to the woman's needs. It was a sorely needed bright spot for Naruto, Niji, and Tenten as they watched Lee drive the woman nuts with his overenthusiasm. That amusement died when the Snow Nin attacked while the crew was filming on an iceberg found on the way to the land of snow. He and the team had managed to drive them off with apparent ease, but the revelation that their client wasn't just an actress, but the exiled princess had not filled him with joy. Naruto knew he should have terminated the contract right there and then, but memories of Wave had convinced him that if he could free a country once, he could do so again. Despite the newly revealed Koyuki Kazuhana's desire to depart, the group pressed on. Now understanding some of the woman's pain, Naruto began trying to break through Koyuki's shell and had made some limited progress before things went to hell. A giant machine riding on metal tracks had nearly crushed Naruto and the princess before he could get her out of the way. He regrouped with his team just in time to watch a small army of loyal snow samurai cut down by some sort of kunai launching machines. Then some sort of airship flew over and a giant claw grabbed the princess out of Naruto's grasp, knocking him over the side of a cliff. It was a completely pissed Naruto that clawed his way back to the top of the cliff 10 minutes later to find the area deserted except for the bodies of the slain samurai. Mentally berating himself for his mistakes, Naruto created some shadow clones to bury the bodies while he began to meditate to track the Hiraishin seals he'd planted on his teammates. Finding the seals active, Naruto wrote out his current situation and his plan of retrieving his team and summoned a messenger toad to deliver it to the Hokage. Unwilling to flash into a potentially bad situation, Naruto began to follow the seal's trace on foot after finishing the burial for the dead samurai. Several days passed before he reached the small ridge he was observing the fortress from. That brought him to his present time and location as he considered his options for freeing his team and the princess from captivity. A small noise behind him caused him to roll and hurl a kunai, but it was casually snatched from the air by the masked man responsible for the noise. Naruto. Kakashi said, handing the kunai back. These things are dangerous, you know. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Kakashi-sensei, why are you here? Considering the amount of time since he reported in compared to the travel time, Naruto drew the fairly obvious conclusion. Bachan had you following me, didn't she? Laying down next to Naruto to observe the fortress himself, Kakashi decided he might as well come clean. Yes, the Hokage had me shadow you because the mission skirted the edge of Iwa's territory. Kakashi eyed the way the boy tensed. No, she didn't send me because she didn't believe you could do the mission, Naruto. After the Gobi Jinchuriki's attack, she simply didn't want to take a chance Iwa might try something else to finish the job. His name was Han, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto nearly snarled at the man. Seeing the apology in the scarecrow's eyes, Naruto relaxed. Alright, I can see that, but why didn't you keep my team from being captured? Kakashi sighed. There wasn't enough time for me to intervene. Not effectively, anyway. Those snow nin in that armor captured your team almost as soon as you got knocked over that cliff. I went to assist you, and when I saw that you were climbing back up, I moved to help them and they were already gone. Naruto chewed on Kakashi's answer for a few minutes as he considered his options. Glancing over at his old sensei, he wondered if the man would help him or just observe. Kakashi-sensei, I'm going in there and getting my team out. Are you going to help me, or are you going to just watch me do it? Kakashi gave him an eye smile. I wouldn't want to be lower than trash now, would I? Chuckling at the small joke, the two-leaf shinobi began to plan as the sun set over the field of ice around them. Temari was rather bored. After yet another day of being stuck in a classroom learning human anatomy, all she really wanted to do was go home, soak in the onsen, and go to bed. Sadly, with Naruto out of the village, she was stuck in the council room representing the Namikaze clan in yet another completely mind-numbing council session. It might have been different if anything important came up, but today's session was just a listing of civilian complaints and concerns so far. Each clan on the council represented a certain district within the village, but with the Uchiha and Namikaze clans both only having recently taken their seats. They hadn't been assigned a district yet. She'd actually felt a moment of commiseration meeting the eyes of an extremely bored Sasuke from across the table, but both teens quickly looked away once they realized it. As Chosa sat himself after finishing his duty to his district, Temari tensed as she prepared to flee the room as soon as the Hokage dismissed the council. Seeing the woman watching her carefully, Temari began to get the feeling that something was wrong. Tsunade mentally cursed when she noticed Temari cautiously watching her. She wished she could have told the girl the news privately. She had wanted to wait for more information, but time had run out. She shifted the papers on her desk and called the room to order. There are two related pieces of business for the council today. First, I have received word from Naruto that his mission to the Land of Snow is no longer a C rank. He believes it is now A to possibly S rank. Tsunade watched Temari flinch from the news and her heart went out to the younger kunoichi. Excuse me, Hokage-sama. Shikaku Nara spoke from his place at the table. What reasons did Naruto give for the sudden change in rank? Tsunade briefed the council on what she knew, starting from the real identity of the client and finishing with the suspected capture of Teen Guy. There was a low buzz in the room as several members of the council began to quietly converse. All of it ceased when Temari spoke from where she had her head in her hands. So, his mission is shot to hell. His team is captured and he is on his own. Tell me, Hokage-sama, she said, lifting her face to meet Tsunade's eyes. What exactly is my husband planning to do? Very aware of the attention on her, Tsunade nervously tapped her nails as she opened the scroll Naruto sent. I suspect he was rather angry when he wrote this, she said. Apparently he plans on tracking his team with the Hiratian seals he placed on them and rescuing them and the client. He says that if it comes down to it, he'll let the Snow Nin meet the Kyuubi. The council room was completely silent, so the sound of Temari's nails gouging lines through the tabletop was heard by everyone in the room. Even Tsunade flinched when Temari spoke with an icy calm. Hokage-sama, you said you had two related items. We've heard about my husband's actions. What was the second item? Tsunade shook her head. She suspected that Temari's control over her temper wasn't going to last through this next item. Still, it was a council issue and needed to be brought up. She suspected she was going to need a lot of sake later. Picking up another scroll, Tsunade cleared her throat. We have received word from Iwagakure regarding the attack by the Gobi Jinchuriki. They state that they deeply regret one of their Nuke would attack a Konohagakure shinobi. The scroll also states that they have an offer in the interest of fostering better relations between our villages. Tsunade glanced up from the scroll to see everyone watching her and began to get nervous when she saw Temari mentally putting the pieces together. Smart girl, I suspect she knows what's coming next, but is waiting for confirmation. They cite the Uzumaki clan practice of polygamy and offer Kuratsuchi, granddaughter of the Sandaime Tsuchikage, as a bride for Naruto. The information they sent on her indicates that she is the holder of the lava release bloodline and is a Jonin-level kunoichi. Excuse me, Hokage-sama. Inoichi interrupted. What Uzumaki clan practice are they speaking of? Tsunade sighed and lowered the scroll. In Uzushiogakure, the Uzumaki clan practiced a special form of polygamy. A man could have 3 wives, but only if the previous wife/wives agreed, because the new wife would marry not only the man but also the previous wives. It worked well for the Uzumaki until the destruction of Uzushiogakure because of the Uzumaki clan's great love of family. Temari did not miss the speculative glances many members of the council sent her way. She knew that the new information would cause many to consider ways they might gain access to her new clan's wealth and status, and she decided to end those plans before they could truly begin. I do not agree with this proposal, Hokage-sama, she said as calmly as possible. From your description, the wife has to agree, and I will not. Exchanging glances with Hamura and Danzo, Koharu spoke from her place at the elders' table. Forgive me, Temari-san, you may have the right to refuse, but why would you not welcome a powerful bloodline to Konohagakure? Taking a brief calming breath, Temari replied. I'm concerned that none of you seem to be suspicious of this. Eyeing the council warily, she pressed on. Iwagakure loathes the very name Namikaze, and now, in a gesture of friendship and goodwill, they offer the Tsuchikage granddaughter to the son of the man that almost single-handedly cost them the Third Shinobi War? I don't think so. Much the same could be said about you, Hayashi Hyuga said when Temari paused. You yourself were sent as a show of faith. Why should this be different? The circumstances are completely different, Hyuga-san, Temari retorted. My marriage was to cement an alliance between Sunagakure and Konoha. An alliance mostly focused against the threat of Iwagakure. Temari absently stroked her stomach as she continued. Even carrying an Uzumaki Namikaze heir like I am, if I were to assassinate my husband and flee to Sunagakure, I would not be welcome. There is a very high probability that my own brother would kill me and send my head back as an apology. Temari shuddered at the thought of dying in Gaara's sand. Can you say the same for this Kuratsuchi? Silence settled over the council room as the experienced shinobi began considering Temari's words. Her argument was solid and well thought out for being such a quick response. They showed that her actions were not those of a jealous girl, but of a wife protecting her husband. Uncharacteristically, it was Shibi Aburame that broke the silence. It is a pity. Temari-san's arguments are quite logical, but she missed several things that also make this offer untenable. Naruto is not the only target possible in the Namikaze matter. Temari-san herself is quite likely. Her assassination would create disruptions in, if not complete dissolution, of the alliance with Sunagakure. There are several other logical ways Iwagakure could use this against Konohagakure. If the Namikaze clan is not agreeable, then perhaps the Uchiha clan may perform this service for the village. Sasuke spoke with a small smirk at Temari. The opportunity to gain a powerful bloodline shouldn't be given up so easily. If we were to send a response stating that while regretfully the Namikaze clan is unavailable, but that the Uchiha clan was, I have no doubt they would accept. Excuse me, Uchiha-san, Choza stated. You are already married, and your clan has no tradition of polygamy. I believe that would disqualify you from consideration. Sasuke gave the council a razor-sharp smile and turned to face his wife. Sakura Uchiha, I Sasuke Uchiha, head of clan Uchiha, hereby declare you unfit to be Uchiha. Your inability to continue the Uchiha line makes you unsuitable, and I cast you out. Leaning in closer to the trembling girl, he sneered as he whispered in her ear. You were always and will always be worthless, and now, everyone will know it. Sasuke-kun? Why? Sakura managed to stutter before she ran from the room in tears. Quickly whispering to her father, Ino rose and chased after the sobbing girl. Temari glared at Sasuke from across the room. She wasn't fond of Sakura, but no one deserved what the Uchiha just did. Sasuke seemingly ignored the looks he was getting as he settled back into his seat. Looking up, he spoke. It seems that I am no longer married, Akimichi-san. I trust that takes care of your concern? What gives you the right to do that to Sakura? Kiba shouted from his seat behind his mother. He hadn't ever really liked the girl, but he was an Inuzuka, and he simply couldn't believe someone would do something like that to a member of their own pack. Quiet, mutt. Sasuke snapped back. I am well within my rights as head of my clan to do so. Her current inability to bear heirs under Uchiha clan law requires her removal for a more suitable replacement. Temari butted in. If she is unable to bear heirs, and your clan law requires she be able to, why would you marry her in the first place? Everyone in the room knew why he had to take the Uchiha council position, but Temari wondered what sort of excuse he would come up with. I was unaware when I married her, and was only recently informed that Hokage-sama placed a seal on my former wife that prevents conception. Sasuke glared at Temari's stomach. Konoha needs more Uchiha now, not whenever Hokage-sama feels the time is right. Tsunade interjected. Uchiha, I informed you that the seal would remain in place until Sakura was physically capable of carrying a child to term. It's a medical fact that any pregnancy she had would have complications, not simply a matter of the time is right. And yet, you never told me about the seal, did you, Hokage-sama? Sasuke sneered back. Danzo raised his hands to cut off outbursts from several people in the room, including Tsunade. It is done. There is no point in continuing this. Now, Uchiha-san suggested we send an agreement for the Uchiha clan to enter this marriage instead of the Namikaze clan. I suggest we focus on that. Tsunade mentally cursed when the slippery old man took control of the room. Her only real response was to get ahead of HM and direct the course herself. Very well, Danzo. I assume you are seconding the motion? At his nod of agreement, Tsunade began the council vote. Namikaze? Namikaze votes no, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi? Seeing the spot empty, Tsunade remembered that Asuma was out on a mission. Sarutobi abstains via absence. Yamanaka? Continuing down the line, Tsunade felt her heart sink when she realized with only the Inuzuka, Ino Shikacho trio, and Temari voting against it, the measure would pass. So be it. The council has decided to accept the Uchiha proposal. A message will be drafted for a Wagakure with the terms. If there is no other business, the council is dismissed. Tsunade stood and exited the room. She was going to need sake. Temari waited for the rest to file out of the room and stood with a groan. Council meetings sucked in general, even without events like today, but pregnant it was even worse. She had aches in odd places, and now all she really wanted to do was go home and relax, maybe soak in the onsen for a while. As she exited the room, she was ambushed by Ino, and she knew she could kiss relaxing goodbye. What do you want, flower girl? She asked a bit more harshly than she really intended. You gotta help me, Temari. Ino blurted out. I can't find Sakura, and I'm really worried about what she might do. Temari sighed and dragged her hand across her face. Yes, so much for relaxing. All right. She said grudgingly. I suppose we shouldn't leave her alone, but where did you lose her at? Ino shuffled her feet nervously. I never actually caught up to her after she left the council chamber. I've looked around, but no one has seen her. Fantastic. Temari hissed through clenched teeth. Catching sight of Hinata standing with her father as the man conversed with Suminazuka, Temari grabbed Ino's hand and pulled her along. Hinata, we need your help. Me? The confused girl asked. Shooting a glance at her father, she straightened her shoulders. How may I assist you, Temari-san, Ino-san? Flower girl, can't find Sakura. We need you to help us find her. Hinata shot her father another nervous glance, but relaxed some when he signaled her with his fingers. Bowing to the girls in front of her, Hinata smiled. The Hyuga clan would be honored to assist the Namikaze and Yamanaka clans in this endeavor. Shall we depart? Temari stopped Hinata when the trio exited the building. Hinata, what was that? Hinata tapped her fingers together as she responded. Father has told me that I need to act in a manner befitting the Hyuga heir. Ino cut in. Oh, that's okay, we just thought you might have been pulling a Niji on us. Hinata blushed and had a small smile. Yes, Niji-Nizan can be a bit formal. I was trying to act like him. Temari and Ino both rolled their eyes, causing Hinata's blush to deepen. Alright, Temari said. Now that's out of the way, let's go find Pinky so I can go home. Ino sneered at her friend as they set off. Pregnancy making you a bit testy, fangirl? Resisting the urge to wipe the smirk off Ino's face, Temari raised her head haughtily. You'll go through this sort of thing as well, you know. When you do, don't come whining to me. The cheerful banter died when Hinata led the trio into a park and they found Sakura passed out on a bench surrounded by sake bottles. Towing one of the bottles, Temari's mouth twisted with distaste. Well, I suppose it could be worse, but what do we do with her? Ino sighed and grabbed her unconscious friend under her arms. Alright girls, grab on. Let's carry her back to her parents' house. The girls were lost in their own thoughts as they carried Sakura, but they weren't expecting the reaction they got after Ino knocked on the Haruno's door. Hi, Haruno-san. Ino said as Sakura's mother cracked the door open. We found Sakura in the park and after what happened this afternoon, we thought we'd bring her here. Ino-san, Hyuga-san, Namikaze-san. She said, sneering the last name. I don't have a daughter named Sakura. I had one, but she was cast out of the Uchiha clan and so she is dead to us. Having said her piece, she slammed the door closed in the girls' faces. I was afraid of this. Ino sighed. Ever since we were little, Sakura's parents wanted her to marry into a shinobi clan. I guess they figured that having a clan for in-laws would boost their business. And now that Uchiha team kicked her out, Temari finished for her. They don't want anything to do with her. Fucking civilians. Ino and Hinata stared at Temari. It was rare for the woman to swear, but they were both in agreement with her. So, what are we going to do? Ino asked the others. Dad says she can't stay with us. I asked him before I went after her in the council chamber. He said that the political situation wouldn't allow it. Hinata was next to speak. She can't come with me. My father would never allow it. Damn it. Temari cursed. I suppose she can come with me. I think we all know that Naruto won't give a damn about any political consequences to providing refuge for a banished Uchiha. Especially this one. Ino's eyes widened. Are you sure about that, Temari? Yes. Temari sighed. My husband would never forgive me if I just left her, but you, she said pointing at Ino, are coming with and staying with her until she wakes up. I'm in no mood to deal with her when that happens. Ino nodded as she ran a concerned gaze over her friend. Temari's right, this is going to be unpleasant when she wakes up. Smoothing Sakura's hair as the trio dragged her towards the Namikaze compound, Ino worried. You better not try anything stupid, forehead. You're gonna get through this. Naruto crouched waiting for the sentry to draw closer. As the man passed him, he slapped his hand over the sentry's mouth and drove a kunai through the back of his neck. Dragging the body into the small room he'd been waiting in, Naruto stripped off the sentry's mask and examined his face. Using his personal hench jutsu, Naruto transformed himself into an exact duplicate of the deceased sentry. Checking to ensure no one had noticed the brief scuffle, Naruto stepped back into the hall and began following the man's rounds. Unsure of exactly where Team Guy and Koyuki were being held, the best plan Naruto and Kakashi had been able to devise was a simple infiltration. When either shinobi located the targets, they were to free the prisoners and radio the other for backup. Kakashi had expressed some concern at separating but had quieted when Naruto reminded him of his ability to hide from even ANBU if he needed to. He then made a small joke about the Snow Nin not having Iruka-sensei to track him down and the two had shared a much-needed laugh. As he patrolled through the halls, Naruto made sure to dispose of the single Snow Nin he encountered. It was risky, but he figured that once he freed the team, the fewer enemies they had to deal with on the way out, the better. The only real problem he was having was with Kyubi. The fox seemed to delight in Naruto killing, and he made a mental note to discuss that with Jiraiya the next time he saw his godfather. Raised voices from nearby got his attention, and he grinned when he recognized the sound of Lee's voice echoing the hall. It seemed that the guard had gotten annoyed with Lee giving Koyuki one of his youth speeches inherited from Guy, and when Naruto poked his head around the corner, the guard was fully occupied. Niji and Tenten sat near the back of the cell, with looks that seemed to combine amusement and annoyance, as the guard yelled at Lee to shut up. Of course, this just encouraged Lee to further increase the volume and vigor of his speech, and Naruto's smile mirrored Niji and Tenten's. Carefully searching for cameras or other guards, Naruto's smile turned vicious when he didn't find any. Casually walking around the corner, his hand on the handle of his kodachi, Naruto calmly approached the guard yelling at Lee. Seeing another guard approach caused Lee to quiet as the three captive Leaf Nin examined the new arrival. The guard previously occupied with Lee turned to greet his fellow Snow Nin and died when Naruto whipped his kodachi through the man's throat. Wiping the blade down, Naruto keyed the mic for his tactical radio. Scarecrow, Fox. Team Guy located and hostile eliminated. Beginning extraction. Fox, Scarecrow copies. Clearing road. Grinning at Team Guy, Naruto dropped his henge and searched the dead guard for keys. Naruto, we thought you were dead. Tenten exclaimed. Bah, I won't die till after I become Hokage, Tenten. Naruto retorted as he opened their cell. Lee stood, somehow projecting fire from his eyes. Yash. Your fires of youth burn brightly, my eternal rival. It is good to see you, Naruto. Wincing and sharing a commiserating look with the saner members of Team Guy, Naruto moved across the hall and opened Koyaki's cell. Koyaki stared at him as he undid her restraints. Why? Why would you come for me? Undoing the last shackle, Naruto smiled and extended his hand to help her to her feet. Because you needed someone to. Come on, princess, let's get you your kingdom back. Koyaki stared at his hand. She wanted with all her heart to believe, but she didn't know if she could. She began to sink into her memories, the death of her father, exile from her home. The pain and lonesomeness she hid behind her work as an actress, the death of Sandayu and his loyal samurai. She felt herself drowning and instinctively reached for the light in the dark. She took Naruto's hand. Unaware of Koyaki's thoughts, Naruto pulled her behind him to where Team Guy was reclaiming their equipment. Alright guys. He said, drawing their attention. Kakashi-sensei is going to create a distraction, and we are going to get the princess out of here. Why is Kakashi here? Niji asked. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Bachan was worried about IWA making a move since we were near their borders, so she sent him to keep an eye on me. So, how are we doing this? Tenten asked as she checked over her gear. Naruto unsealed a large stack of explosive tags and tossed them to her. I don't think Koyakiheim here needs this fortress Tenten, so while we escape, I want you to plant those wherever they'll do the most damage. Tenten stared at the explosive tags in her hands with stars in her eyes. Say, Naruto, she said sweetly. Where did you get all of these? Oh, he was cut off when Niji slapped a hand over his mouth. Naruto, Niji hissed into his ear. While I find it to be a great asset that you can create your own explosive tags, Tenten can't know. Lee whispered in his other ear. Yash, Tenten's flames of youth burn very bright when she has explosive tags. Niji rolled his eyes. What he means to say is that Tenten goes somewhat insane with the tags. The last time Gai-sensei let her use them, she destroyed an entire training field. Naruto glared at the two and moved Niji's hand from his mouth. That would have been great to know before I gave her an entire stack of my own tags. He hissed back at them. Oh? Tenten said from behind Naruto. Your own tags, huh? What do they do? All three boys paled. Of course she listened in on the conversation. Hey, Naruto chuckled nervously. Well, I sort of modified the level 5 demolition tags to have a bit more kick. Lee and Niji involuntarily backed up several steps and stared at him. Naruto, Niji said in a subdued tone. Aren't level 5 tags designed to breach fortress walls in siege warfare? Trying to ignore the truly disturbing grin Tenten was using as she stared at the tags in her hands, Naruto answered. Yeah, but the design is really sloppy. I just sort of tightened it up and increased the yield. Niji stared at the madman in front of him. He'd increased the power of a level 5 explosive tag and then given Tenten an entire stack of them? Madness, simply madness. Exactly how much did you increase the yield? Niji wasn't entirely sure he wanted to know, and Lee looked like he didn't really want to know either, but he simply had to ask. Naruto tilted his head back as he thought. 2, maybe 3 times? Can't be more than 5 though, I'm sure of that. Niji felt ill. A small tremor followed by the sound of an explosion brought the team back to the matter at hand. Alright team, Naruto said. That had to be Kakashi-sensei, so let's get moving. Lee, take point. Tenten and I will stay next to the princess. Niji, take the rear and keep an eye out. Kakashi-sensei told me that some of these guys are wearing some sort of armor like the guys that ambushed us in the glacier. Supposedly, it will block chakra, so it's a good thing Lee and Tenten don't really use it. Niji, if we do run into anyone with the armor, remember that any point not covered by the armor is a weakness. If you have to, take out their arms and legs and let Tenten or Lee finish them. Everyone clear? The members of Team Guy dropped into their assigned positions with sharp nods, and even Koyuki managed a brief nod. The team began to ghost through the fortress corridors without too much trouble. Lee had to drop several sentries, and Tenten wouldn't stop giggling as she placed explosive tags on several load-bearing structures they passed by. Their streak of luck ended when they entered a large barracks room. The same time, two Snow Nin in chakra armor entered the other side. The two parties eyed each other briefly before sinister smirks appeared on the Snow Nin's faces. Well, the pink-haired woman said to her companion. It seems like the children have come to play, Mizore. Mizore smashed his fist into the palm of what appeared to be a metal arm. Right you are, Fubuki, right you are. Hopefully they provide more entertainment this time. Naruto sized them up and passed orders quickly. Tenten, Lee, take the woman. Niji, guard Koyuki-hime. If you see an opening, take it, but your priority is to keep her safe. Sliding forward towards Mizore, he drew his kodachi. Careful, these guys are wearing that armor we were talking about. Naruto quickly lost track of anything but his own battle. His opponent was fast and strong, boosted by the chakra armor no doubt, but still dangerous. Several minutes of furious blow and counterblow resulted in Naruto and Mizore locked in a stalemate. Naruto was marginally faster, but Mizore was considerably stronger, especially boosted by the chakra armor. Several times Naruto was almost killed by odd attacks from the man's metal arm. All Naruto had to show for his effort was several scratches across the center of Mizore's armor. Parrying yet another strike from the man's metallic arm, Naruto was forced to duck and roll forward to avoid the cables it launched. He cursed when released that even with Erosenen's training, he didn't quite have the speed he needed to overcome his physical limitations. Stupid freaking short arms. Fine, if he couldn't win in a straight-up fight, it was time to draw from his bag of tricks. Waiting for the man to launch his arm at him again, Naruto finally got his chance. As the arm arced in towards him, Naruto dodged forward and pretended to trip. Rolling forwards towards the man, Naruto released his hold on his kodachi and allowed Mizore to grab him with his normal hand. That was a mistake. Naruto coldly told Mizore as he formed Rasengan in both hands and swept them forward into the man's arm. The two jutsu ground through Mizore's arm, and when they collided, the side effect wasn't what Naruto was expecting. He'd expected an explosion, and had angled his palms to try to deflect most of it away from his body. What he got was a small explosion and a condensed beam of chakra that ripped up through Mizore's shoulder and cut through the walls. Holy hell, he thought. That looked an awful lot like a Baijidama. Mizore dropped towards Naruto, his body in shock after losing his arm. As he fell, the last thing he saw was Naruto drawing a strange three-pronged kunai and driving it towards his throat. Naruto kicked Mizore's body off and pulled his Hiraishin kunai from its resting place in Mizore's throat. Wiping the blade off on the dead man's tunic, Naruto took time to check his surroundings. Niji and Koyuki were still safe. Several bodies near Niji showed that he had been busy. Tenten and Lee were still fighting the pink-haired woman. She was using her armor to fly around and keep Lee out of range while deflecting the weapons Tenten was hurling at her. Watching Tenten unseal a small battle axe and throw it, Naruto was struck with a sudden thought. Exactly how many freaking pointy things does she even have in those scrolls of hers? Deciding to get the answer to that later, Naruto moved to reclaim his kodachi and considered ways to deal with this last pest. She wasn't paying attention to him, but her flight path was too erratic for him to hit with thrown weapons. He'd use kunai kage bunshin, but her chakra armor would absorb or deflect all the clone weapons, same with his small ninjutsu library. Searching the room for inspiration, Naruto's eyes fell on the corpse of Mizore. I wonder if I can overload that armor. It has to have a limit to what it can stop, right? Forming the largest Rasengan he could in both hands, Naruto carefully studied Fubuki's movements. There, she always dips left after she dodges up. I've got you now. Preparing to slam his Rasengan together, Naruto belatedly realized he needed to warn his team. Lee, Tenten, get down. Now. Rasengan beam. Once again, the colliding Rasengan created a beam of chakra, but this time the beam was almost as thick as Naruto's waist. He could only stare in awe when the beam ripped straight through Fubuki and her armor before smashing through the wall. Naruto dropped to one knee panting. It took a hell of a lot more chakra to do that than a regular Rasengan, but he could already see some uses for it. Scarecrow, Fox, he said, keying his mic after catching his breath. 2 chakra armored hostiles down, you pick up the third? A brief crackle of static and Kakashi responded. Fox, Scarecrow. Affirmative, third armor terminated. Gave me a bit of trouble. You? Naruto gave his team a weary smile. Bit of trouble, nothing we couldn't handle. Continue with plan? Affirmative, rendezvous at start point. Scarecrow clear. Accepting a hand from Neji, Naruto pulled himself to his feet. Good news guys, Kakashi-sensei got that third guy with the armor, so hopefully we won't have too much trouble the rest of the way out. Naruto extended his hand to Koyuki with a warm smile. Come on princess, let's get you out of here. Same positions guys. Let's go. The corridors were empty as the team passed through and Naruto felt increasingly uneasy. He just knew he shouldn't have said that getting out would be easy, and he suspected he probably cursed himself to another fight. The only member of the group that seemed immune to the tension was Tenten, but it was hard to tell since she was still constantly giggling as she slapped explosive tags onto things. So, Naruto. Neji called from his rearguard position. How long have you been able to create giant beams of chakra? Naruto cursed under his breath when he felt even Tenten's attention swing towards him for his answer. Just now, actually. He said with a nervous chuckle. When I was fighting the guy with the metal arm, I accidentally slammed 2 Rasengan together and it kinda shot chakra out. Yosh, your flames of youth burn bright indeed. Lee called back, putting his 2 Ryo in. Neji rolled his eyes. One does not simply accidentally create an A-class attack jutsu, then turn around and use it a second time immediately after. Madness. Further conversation ended when Neji called out a warning and Naruto grabbed Koyuki to pull her out of the way of a vicious ice jutsu shaped like a black dragon that tore through where she had been. Walking. Naruto and his team formed a diamond formation around Koyuki facing towards where the jutsu originated. They tensed when a tall man wearing a black chakra armor version calmly strode out of the shadows. Koyuki tensed when she saw him and grabbed Naruto's hand. It's my uncle. She whispered to Naruto. He killed my father and tried to kill me. Naruto smiled at her and gently pried her hands off of his. Sorry Koyuki-hime, I need my hands to fight. Don't worry, I promise he won't touch you. Ah, how touching. The little leaf shinobi promises to save the princess. Doto called out. It's too bad that you'll have to break your promise. This new prototype chakra armor is much stronger than that worn by those fools you defeated. Soon I will have the treasure my brother hid, and with it, I will create an army using chakra armor, and we will crush the Gakage villages, and I will rule this world. Tuning out the monologue, Naruto signaled his team their orders. With Doto using chakra armor, Neji was severely limited, but he could take her and rendezvous with Kakashi just fine. Lee and Tenten he ordered to attack. As the man finally reached the end of his rule the world spiel, Neji slipped away using the remaining 3's attacks as a distraction. Naruto quickly realized that they were severely outclassed. He figured that Doto was probably at least as strong as a normal jonin without the armor. That would be bad enough, but doable with 3 talented nin like Lee, Tenten, and himself. Enhanced by his armor, Doto was probably pushing S-class, which was bad news. Gritting his teeth, Naruto realized he was going to have to use Kyuubi's power for this fight. Signaling Lee and Tenten to regroup, he hastily explained. Guys, we can't beat him like this. I'm going to have to use Kyuubi. Glancing at Doto, Naruto was struck by the man's arrogance. He was just standing there with a mocking smile as the teens hurriedly conversed. He was apparently going to just let them come up with a plan to attack him. Looking back at his friends, he saw the concern etched on their faces. Go on guys, he said, giving them a foxy grin. I'll be fine, I promise. Lee placed a hand on Tenten's shoulder. Come Tenten, we know that Naruto always keeps his promises. We must leave him to his fight. Tenten blinked. Apparently Lee was learning to copy Guy's ability to become completely serious if the situation required it. Useful but frustrating since she knew he would be ranting about youth in no time. Stepping forward, she gave Naruto a brief hug. You better be alright. I still need you to teach me how to make explosive tags. Naruto watched his friends leave and turned back to Doto. Dropping back into a battle stance, he drew his Kodachi and began working to unlock some of Kyuubi's power. So, they left you behind. How foolish, Doto mocked, secure in his victory. Don't worry little boy, they'll be following you shortly along with my niece. Naruto once again blessed the arrogance of the man. The armor might boost his abilities to be comparable to a S-class shinobi, but he sure didn't have the mindset. Any true S-class would have instantly assumed anyone left behind as a rear guard would have some sort of trump card and prepared for it. It was obvious from the man's face and stance that he didn't view Naruto as a threat at all. Naruto aimed to correct that. Drawing on the Kyuubi's power, Naruto felt his teeth lengthen as his nails formed claws. Channeling only enough for the initial transformation, Naruto didn't have any tails waving behind him, but Doto's laughter paused when he saw Naruto's blood-red eyes. Doto realized he may have made a mistake when he felt the power emanating from the black and orange-clad boy in front of him. Something about the boy seemed familiar, and he suddenly remembered a passage from the most recent IWA bingo book regarding the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. His eyes widened in shock, causing him to barely dodge a slash from Naruto's Kodachi. If this truly was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and he believed it was, he was in serious trouble. Naruto drew a grim satisfaction at the dawning panic in Doto's eyes, and he continued to press hard against the man's defenses. What was that? He growled. I thought you were going to kill me? His momentary inattention cost him, and Doto caught him with a solid punch that slammed him against a nearby wall. Regaining his footing, he saw Doto forming seals, and two black dragons made of ice roared towards him as Doto finished his jutsu. Channeling Kyuubi's chakra through his Kodachi, causing it to glow an ominous red, Naruto slashed through the incoming jutsu and rammed his Kodachi through Doto's shoulder, pinning him to the wall. Your ambitions end here. He snarled, forming a Kyuubi-enhanced Rasengan with his free hand. All the pain, all the suffering you've caused, I'll make you feel it tenfold. Naruto drove his Rasengan against the center of Doto's chakra armor, slowly grinding it through his chest. Realizing that he was being influenced by Kyuubi, Naruto stepped back and allowed his Rasengan to dissipate. Allowing Kyuubi's power to fade away, Naruto nearly dropped from the built-up fatigue. Drawing his Kodachi out of Doto's shoulder, Naruto swiftly beheaded the man, then cleaned and sheathed his blade. Leaning against the wall, he slowly slid down until he was sitting on the floor and keyed his radio. Scarecrow, Fox. Come get me, sensei. Copy Fox, we're coming. Without the Kyuubi's power, he was beginning to feel the ache from some of Doto's blows. He grimaced as he gently touched his ribs, probably broke a couple. Great, more hospital time. Naruto smiled when he saw Team Guy along with Koyuki and Kakashi. Friends were good. Dozing off as they carefully cared him, Naruto only woke when Tenten poked him and told him to detonate the explosive tags. She hadn't done all the work in setting them to miss out on the explosion. Deciding to do it so she would leave him alone and he could go back to sleep, Naruto detonated the activated tags in the fortress. Kakashi, Koyuki, and Team Guy all stared as the fortress seemed to lift in the air in a flash of flame, then slam back to earth. Ducking under cover with the snoozing Naruto, they waited for the debris to stop flying and poked their heads up cautiously. Several chunks remained, but it was one of the most thorough destruction jobs Kakashi had ever seen, and he sweat-dropped when Tenten told him Naruto had plenty more of those tags with a giggle. Lifting Naruto and heading towards the nearest town, Kakashi wondered if he should warn the Hokage that Naruto could apparently destroy most of the village without much effort. Nah, he thought, flipping open his favorite book. Too much work. 2 weeks later, Naruto led Team Guy to the gates of Konoha as the sun began to set. Alright guys, meet at the Hokage's office tomorrow at 0900 for mission debrief. Until then, dismissed. Saluting, Team Guy left and headed for their respective homes. Approaching his own home, Naruto noticed the place seemed to feel a bit different and he began to worry. Opening the door, he saw Temari sitting at the table with a haggard expression. She brightened up when she saw him, but he wondered why she still seemed so worn out. Sitting across from her at the table, he reached out and gently clasped her hands. Temari-chan, what's wrong? Temari sighed. We have a guest. A rather permanent guest as far as I can tell. Oh? Naruto replied. Why is a guest leaving you look this strained? It's Sakura. She was forced from the Uchiha clan and her parents disowned her. Temari began to babble, the emotions of the past weeks catching up to her. I brought her here cause I knew you would want me to help her, but all she's done is cry for the last 2 weeks, and even with Ino we have to watch her cause she's tried to commit suicide. Stopping to catch her breath, Temari felt herself being pulled into a hug. Shoo, it's alright, Temari-chan. Stroking her hair to calm her, Naruto felt bad for Temari. Life never seemed to give her a break. I'll watch over Sakura-chan so you and Ino can get some sleep, but first, I need you to tell me everything that happened while I was gone. Naruto sat at his desk in his father's old study, intently reading a scroll concerning Uzumaki clan practices. The news that a Wagakure was trying to use an Uzumaki clan custom he had been completely unaware of had been most unpleasant. He was profoundly grateful to Temari for stopping it, even if the results left him with a strong desire to murder Sasuke. Before coming downstairs after tucking an exhausted Temari into bed, he popped his head in to check on Sakura. The sight of his old crush restlessly pulling against her restraints in her sleep had made him almost angry enough to draw on Kyuubi's power. The ugly scars running down the girl's forearms, the reason for the restraints, had literally left him seeing red before he fled the room to calm down. I may not be able to do anything directly to you, Sasuke, he fumed as he continued to read his scroll, but don't think I won't make you pay for hurting Sakura-chan like that. Shaking off his resurgent anger, he pursed his lips as he got to the section of the scroll regarding marriage. It really was interesting. The old Uzumaki practice wasn't designed simply to expand the family. After the marriage, the women were legally considered to be sisters, and any children were considered to belong to all adults in the marriage. The goal was to offer as safe and stable an environment for the children as possible for shinobi, and to provide a support net for the spouses. Naruto set the scroll down and pursed his lips as he thought. He could see the advantages, but he had no desire for another wife. He hadn't particularly wanted to marry Temari, even if he was now glad that he had. Naruto snorted. As far as he was concerned, he was hers, and she was his. He had no desire to screw up the dynamic of their relationship, even if he wasn't entirely sure what it was. How does one know if they love their wife anyway? Pushing back his chair, Naruto stood and stretched with a yawn. A quick glance at the clock told him he had some time to sleep before he needed to meet with Bachan and Teen Guy. Padding softly up the stairs, Naruto snorted at a sudden thought. I need rest if I'm to deal with Lee. Being back, he's probably recharged his youth. Passing Sakura's room, he paused when he heard her whimpering in her sleep. He wanted to go and comfort her, but it was probably a bad idea. Sighing, he resumed his trek to the master bedroom. Entering the room, he paused again to drink in the image before him. The slight breeze through the open window caused the curtains to move, causing shadows to dance across his wife in the moonlight. Sometime after Naruto had tucked her in, Temari had kicked off some of her blankets, and Naruto moved forward in a daze to lightly run his hand along the smooth skin of her legs. Kami, she's beautiful, he thought with a lump in his throat. Quickly stripping down and changing into his normal nightwear, he slid in behind Temari and wrapped his arms around her. Nuzzling his nose against the back of her neck, he breathed in the scent of his wife and felt himself relax. When Temari snuggled further into his embrace in her sleep, claiming one of his arms as her new pillow, Naruto grinned and placed his other hand against the barely noticeable bump on her stomach. Closing his eyes, he felt himself completely at peace, and he fell asleep with one last thought. Maybe this is how you know. The first rays of sunlight woke Naruto, and he blearily glared at the sun for waking him. He didn't want to get up, he was comfortable, damn it, but duty called. At some point, Temari had rolled over in her sleep and wrapped a leg around him. Pleasant and comfortable, but he wasn't sure how he was supposed to get up without disturbing her, and she simply looked too peaceful to wake up. Looking around the room for some way to escape, Naruto glumly came to the conclusion that he was going to have to wake her up. Reaching forward, he gently smoothed her hair back behind her ear. Temari-chan. He said quietly. Temari-chan, wake up, I need to go. Temari mumbled in her sleep and pulled him even closer than before, hooking her foot around his ankle to hold him in place. Well, that didn't work. Glancing outside, he figured he still had some time, so leaning forward, he kissed his sleeping wife. At that first electric contact with her lips, Naruto deepened his kiss, pouring all his emotions, all the longing he'd felt for her while he was away into it. He almost didn't notice when her hand came up to stroke his whisker mark, but he did, and opening his eyes, he saw Temari's green eyes watching him with a sparkle. Good morning, Naruto-kun, she whispered huskily when he broke off the kiss. Using the leverage her leg provided, she flipped Naruto onto his back and straddled his stomach. Leaning forward, her unbound hair brushing against the sides of his face, she pressed her forehead against his with a throaty chuckle. If that's how you wake me after you've been gone, I might have to ask Tsunade-sama to send you out more often. Ah, no fair Temari-chan. Naruto pouted. I was just showing you how much I missed you. Temari chuckled again and ran her hand up under his t-shirt. Oh? I can think of other ways you might show me you missed me. Naruto groaned as he tried to ignore his body's reaction to Temari gently running her nails along his skin. I would love to, Dada Boyo, but I have to go report on the mission to the old hag. Temari pouted from her place on top of him. Does it have to be now? She whined. Naruto raised his hand and cupped her cheek gently. Yes, I ordered Team Guy to meet me there at 0900 and I'm sure if I don't show, Bachan will send Lee to get me. Temari shuddered. She didn't want him to leave, but dealing with Lee this early in the morning? She preferred to keep her sanity intact, thank you. Fine, she groused. But you owe me. Before she could slide off him, Naruto captured her mouth with another brief kiss. I promise I will, Temari-chan. Nodding, Temari moved back to her side of the bed so he could get up. Watching him get dressed, amused by the fact that he seemed embarrassed by it, she was surprised when he turned back to her with a serious expression. Temari-chan, how do you know if you love someone? He asked quietly. Buying time to think of an answer, Temari slid off the bed and donned her robe. Gliding across the room to her husband, she tilted his face to hers with a finger. I'm not sure what to tell you, Naruto. Temari sighed sadly. You know that growing up wasn't very happy for me, not as bad as you and certainly not as bad as Gaara, but I don't think I have the answer. Seeing Naruto shift uncomfortably, she gave him a gentle smile. I do know that I'm happy here with you, Naruto. Even when you piss me off, I still enjoy the time I get with you. When you were gone on that mission, I worried every single day and I prayed to Kami that you would come back to me. Temari pulled Naruto into a hug. I don't know if it's love but for me, it's enough. Naruto felt a tear trail down his face as he returned Temari's embrace. Everything she'd said, he'd felt and she was right. It was enough for him too. Gently pushing her away, he reached up and smoothed her hair behind her ear smiling at her. You make me happy too, Temari-chan. The sound of nearby sobs tore the teens from their moment and both cursed under their breath in sync. Naruto ran his hand over his face in irritation. Damn, I forgot about her. Glancing at the clock next to a bed, Naruto groaned. Temari-chan, can you watch her until I get done with Bachan? Seeing the glare Temari gave him, he held his hands out defensively. I know you and Ino watched her before, but I promise I'll try and take care of this after my meeting with Bachan. Temari sighed and massaged her temple. Fine, but you better keep that promise. Naruto gave her a thumbs up as he began to head out the door. Of course, I always keep my promises, Dada Boyo. Temari just waved absently after him and tightened her robe. She hadn't been fond of Sakura and after 2 weeks of her raving suicidal behavior, she was tempted to just kill her. Only the fact that Naruto would be very angry kept her from doing it, and she had days she wasn't sure she cared. Heading downstairs to the kitchen, she muttered under her breath as she prepared a small breakfast and placed it on a tray. While far from a gourmet chef, Temari had been spurred by the fact that Naruto was a better cook and had learned some simple dishes from Ino. Lifting the tray, Temari headed back upstairs to the room Sakura was restrained in and pushed the door open with her foot. Setting the tray down on the table next to the bed, Temari sighed when Sakura refused to look at her. Glaring at the girl just staring at the ceiling, Temari realized she was going to have to feed the damn pink-haired twit again. You are so lucky my husband wants you alive, Sakura. She said, sitting down and picking up the chopsticks. I really don't know what he plans to do, but now that he is back, you're his problem. Focused on getting Sakura to swallow, Temari didn't notice the brief flicker of life in Sakura's eyes when she mentioned Naruto. Naruto fairly flew out the door of his house and immediately hit the brakes in curiosity when he saw a small line of foxes sitting on their haunches in the training ground in front of Reynard. The larger fox yipped something at the foxes in line and one stepped out of line and faced a target dummy. After Reynard yipped again with an obvious tone of command, Naruto felt his eyes widen when the fox spewed a burst of bluish flame. His jaw dropped when the targeted dummy was shattered and not burned. Pinching the bridge of his nose to stave off a headache, Naruto continued on his way. Oh yeah, foxes spewing ice breath is so much better than foxes shooting fireballs. Stupid civilians are gonna freak if this gets out. That cheerful thought dwelling in his head, Naruto took to the roofs and made his way towards the Hokage Tower. Getting close, he dropped to one knee and a wide grin split his face. It was time to pull a page from both his sensei's book. "Good morning, Bachan," he yelled as he popped in through the window of her office. He openly laughed when he saw her choke on the sake she'd been sipping, and knowing the next step of the dance, dodged to the side when she winged the empty sake jar at his head. "Ah, don't be like that, Bachan," he called out as the jar smashed against the wall. "You know you missed me." Tsunade dropped her forehead onto her desk with an audible thump and childishly covered her head with her hands in a vain attempt to make Naruto go away. Peeking up, she saw him still standing there with that infuriating grin, but before she could lace into him, the office door opened and Team Guy entered, followed by Shizune. Tsunade sat up straight in her chair and laced her fingers in front of her face. The brat would pay later, for now it was business. "Naruto, Team Guy, I understand you had an interesting time with this last mission. Report." Naruto proceeded to brief Tsunade on the events in the Land of Snow. Niji and Tenten occasionally interjected with their own observations, while Lee maintained a running commentary on the youth or unyouth of certain actions. Ignoring it, Naruto finished up. "Yeah, Bachan, turns out that hex crystal thing Koyakiheim was wearing actually started some sort of heat generator thing. Turns out the treasure Doto team killed his brother over was a way to melt the snow." Tsunade raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? He killed his brother, tried to kill his niece, and the entire time there wasn't even a treasure?" Naruto exchanged glances with his temporary team. "Pretty much, Bachan. Koyakiheim said that once they get the generator to work right, the Land of Snow would become the Land of Spring or something like that. It's pretty cool though. That's the second country I've helped save, you know." Tsunade rolled her eyes. It was true enough, but she couldn't let it go to his head. "Yeah, that's great, Naruto, but I shouldn't have to remind you that we weren't paid to save a country." Naruto sheepishly rubbed the back of his neck with a cheesy grin. "Oh, yeah, about that, Koyakiheim sent a scroll for you. She said something about it being payment and she also sent something else." Pulling a sealing scroll out, Naruto unsealed a battered set of chakra armor and a sealed scroll. Rotating the armor so Tsunade could see it, Naruto grinned. "Yeah, I really hate this stuff, but she said we could have this, and I figured the tech guys would like it." Naruto frowned. "We do have tech guys, right?" Motioning for Naruto to seal the armor away, Tsunade rolled her eyes again. "Yes, Gaki, we do indeed have tech guys. I don't know if they'll be able to do anything with this, but I'm sure they'll love it." "Now, the scroll?" "Oh, yeah." Naruto walked to the desk and handed her the scrolls. Opening the sealed diplomatic scroll, Tsunade quickly read it, then stopped and read it again in disbelief. Slowly a maniacal smile formed on her face and Naruto shifted nervously. Anything that made Tsunade smile like that was probably really, really bad for him. He flinched when she turned that gaze on him. "Gaki, you have any idea what's on this?" Niji deactivated his Byakugan with a smirk and whispered to Tenten, causing her to giggle as well. This made his planned revenge even sweeter. Naruto stared suspiciously at Niji and Tenten, then turned back to Tsunade. "No, it was sealed." Tsunade gave him a beatific smile. "Well, you'll find out at the next council meeting. For now, though mistakes were made during this mission, at least you all came home alive." Dismissed. Naruto waited till Team Guy exited, then closed the door and turned back to Tsunade. "Bachan, can we have a private chat?" Tsunade considered him carefully. Naruto was being almost completely serious, which was worrying. Raising a hand, Tsunade signaled the hidden ANBU for privacy. "What's on your mind, Naruto?" Seating himself, Naruto pulled out a tri-pronged kunai and twirled it around his finger as he collected his thoughts. "Bachan, Temari filled me in on what happened while I was gone." He finally started. "I'm not sure how I can fix Sakura-chan, but I'm worried about this Awagakure Kunoichi." Tsunade nodded agreement. "Yes. You should be extremely careful if Awagakure accepts, and I expect they probably will." Naruto raised an eyebrow at that and Tsunade smiled bitterly. "Jiraiya has done a very good job in cleaning out spies since the Chunin exams. I can't help but feel that since you were asked for first, you are still Awagakure's primary target." Naruto grimaced. "What about Temari-chan?" Tsunade drummed her fingers on the desk. "Also a possibility. Her death would ruin the alliance with Sunagakure. I suspect that her life is safe until she delivers her baby, but that adds even more complications." Naruto flexed his fingers as if they were claws. I don't care who they are, Bachan. No one threatens my family and gets away with it. Tsunade smiled grimly. Good, but remember Naruto, you can't act without proof. Even I can't protect you if you do. Naruto stood and flashed her a razor-sharp smile. Don't worry, Bachan. I won't cause serious problems for you. Nodding at Tsunade, Naruto headed for the door. Naruto, Tsunade called as he opened the door. That applies to dealing with the Uchiha as well, just so you know. Naruto waved his acknowledgement of the order and exited the office. Tsunade pinched the bridge of her nose when she realized he had only promised not to cause serious problems. Gaki is gonna stir up trouble, I just know it, she thought. I'll bet his version of serious doesn't match mine either. Naruto paused in the hall outside the office when he almost ran over Niji. Hey Niji, you need something? He was somewhat creeped out by the eerie little smile the normally stoic teen was sporting. Ah, yes. I have something for your wife. Niji said, handing Naruto a small thin box. Princess Koyuki sent this along as a present for Temari-san. Naruto eyed the wrapped box suspiciously. What is it? I believe she said it was an autographed picture. The princess is a famous actress. I have duties I must attend to, if you'll excuse me, Naruto. Niji bowed and left Naruto staring at the box in his hands. As soon as he made it outside, Niji let out a somewhat evil cackle before he could compose himself. He still couldn't wipe the smirk completely off his face. Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding as he stared at the box in his hand. He was debating opening it when he noticed someone approach him. Sealing the box into the same storage seal on his sleeve his Kodachi resided in, Naruto looked up to see Danzo observing him. Great, Naruto thought sourly. From what my father's journal said, this guy is no joke. Why Kami? Why is it always me? May I help you, Elder Danzo? He asked politely. Uzumaki-san. Danzo said sternly. I was hoping for a moment of your time. The tone of his voice implied that this was not really a request. I have several things I must do, but I can spare some time, Danzo-san. Naruto replied, heavily emphasizing the sum. Danzo didn't let it show on his face, but the boy was actually slightly impressive. Wary but willing to play the game and not being loud like when he was younger. Perhaps the boy wasn't a total failure after all. This will not take long, Uzumaki-san. If you will follow me to my office? Naruto bowed slightly and motioned for Danzo to lead on. Following Danzo, Naruto frantically reviewed everything his father had written about the man. This was a potentially very dangerous situation for his dream of being Hokage, but it wasn't in Naruto's nature not to accept a challenge. Opening the door to a small office located 2 floors below the Hokage's office, Danzo motioned Naruto to take a seat as he moved behind the desk and sat himself. I'm sure you're curious why I brought you here. It was certainly different. Naruto replied, giving nothing away. Danzo formed a thin smile. So Uzumaki wishes to play word games. Yes, I'm sure it was. Do you know who I am? Naruto eyed the bandaged man in front of him and suddenly grew tired of the man's game. My father's journal has much to say about you, Danzo-san. Naruto said grimly. He took a small measure in satisfaction at the slight twitch the mention of his father's journal caused in the impassive man. I'm aware of Root, and I'm aware of why my father didn't shut you down even with your training methods. Danzo stared at the boy in front of him with a small degree of shock. Everything he knew of the boy said that if he had information like that, he would never have kept it secret. Who else knows this? Danzo asked, planning on silencing everyone involved. Naruto's eye twitched. Did the man think he was stupid? Ignoring the Kyuubi's laughter, Naruto fought the urge to facepalm when he realized that Danzo did indeed think he was that stupid. Obviously he wasn't aware of Temari tutoring him or the shadow clones he'd left to study when he trained. Book learning was not his thing, but he'd successfully covered the academy classes, and then some. Realizing he was getting a bit off course, he glared back at Danzo. Even if there was someone, I wouldn't tell you. I'm not the same as I was when I was in the academy, Danzo-san. Danzo remained impassive. I see, so what do you plan to do with this knowledge of yours? Naruto sat back in his chair. I don't plan on doing anything. I told you, my father didn't shut you down, and I'm aware of the reason he did not. Oh, what would that be? Naruto sighed. Can we stop playing games here? It's boring and annoying. I can't kill you, and you can't kill me. I'm not powerful enough to take you down, and you wouldn't kill the village Jinchuriki without a damn good cause. Danzo tapped his cane as he thought, the boy did have a point. Very well, Uzumaki-san. Why did your father not shut this route down? Still not admitting it, huh? Naruto said with a small sneer. Whatever. My father didn't shut down route because he knew that there were times he would need a deniable force. Someone that no one could track back to Konoha to do the dirty jobs no one wanted to know about. Sound about right? Danzo gave Naruto another thin smile. Perhaps. If you have this information, why would you not pass it along to the Hokage? Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration. Stupid old man wasn't giving him anything. Because it wouldn't do any good and would do much harm. Bachan would never accept that something like root could be needed, and I would prefer not to start a round of civil war in the village. Especially since Kumo and IWA both have to be eyeing us for any sign of weakness after the invasion. Danzo sat back in his chair. That's very fascinating, Uzumaki-san. I noticed that you failed to mention Tsunagakure as a possible enemy. Perhaps your wife is influencing you? Naruto growled at Danzo and forced himself to relax when he heard the wood of the chair creak from the pressure he applied to it. I would leave my wife out of this conversation if you desire to continue breathing, old man. You know that Suna is not a threat to us, and frankly, it will be years before they could be. Temari-chan swore an oath to Konoha, and I dare you to find any time she failed to uphold it. No, your wife is an admirable kunoichi, and I am pleased that she takes her treaty duties seriously enough to already be carrying an heir. Naruto flushed a bit at that. It certainly hadn't been planned. Danzo continued, secretly somewhat amused at Naruto's discomfiture. I will admit that this meeting has not gone planned and that you are not what I was led to believe. That leaves me with the question of why you came. Naruto sat forward and stared directly into Danzo's eye. Stop supporting the Uchiha. Danzo couldn't hide a small flinch. Pardon? Naruto gave him a teeth-filled smile. My father's journal states that you wanted to become Hokage yourself. Now that my heritage is known, and no one is sabotaging me, perhaps on orders from a certain council elder, the one most likely to become Hokage is me. Danzo tilted his head quizzically. Your statement does not answer my question. We both know that unless something happens to me, I'll be Hokage, which means you will not be able to fulfill that desire of yours. Naruto replied evenly. As I stated earlier, you can't kill me cause I'm the village Jinchuriki, and a smear campaign would be useless. The older civilians pretty much hate me, but try to kiss my ass anyway since I'm a Namikaze. The younger civies and most of the shinobi, now that they know what I am, aren't really happy with their elders. I'm getting sidetracked. Since you won't become Hokage, you will be looking for an heir to your legacy. Danzo tapped his cane. Say that you are correct, why would I not support a member of a founding clan? Because ultimately he will betray you as well. Naruto said with a sigh. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and Sasuke was always driven by power. In and of itself that isn't bad, but he seeks power simply for power's sake. Danzo frowned. Well, you seem to have all the answers. What would you suggest, Uzumaki-san? Naruto stood and moved towards the door. If I were you, I'd take one of your drones, one that you haven't completely broken yet. Take that member and train them to be your successor. I know of your training from my father's journal. Naruto reminded Danzo. I would point out that emotionless weapons are sort of a one-time use. I would suggest you give them something to fight for other than just your orders. Having said his piece, Naruto exited the office, leaving Danzo deep in thought. Danzo stared at the door after Naruto left, replaying the conversation in his head. The Jinchuriki was far more dangerous than Danzo had believed, but that was a good thing. He didn't agree with many of the boy's points, but perhaps he was right about the Uchiha. That banishment of his former wife in front of the entire council had certainly not been a wise move, even if Danzo had played it to his advantage. He wasn't quite ready to give up that investment, but Uzumaki's suggestion about training a replacement had some merit. Perhaps he should begin to train an heir as he watched the Uchiha. Naruto moved quickly after exiting the Hokage Tower. The meeting with Danzo had frazzled his nerves, and he hoped the man had bought his explanation. Naruto had every intention of tearing the organization out by the roots. He smirked a bit at the pun in his head, but he was being totally truthful when he told Danzo the timing wasn't right. He had a feeling that Danzo was going to become a giant pain in his ass in years to come, but hopefully the man would stop backing Sasuke. Naruto paused in his wandering as he passed the Yamanaka flower shop, and he remembered that Temari still hadn't handed him his head over leaving with just a note. Perhaps he could head that off? Walking through the door to the jingle of the bell, Naruto smiled cheerfully when he saw Ino studying a scroll at the counter. "Hey, Ino-chan," he called out, startling the poor girl with his volume. "You know that whole language of the flowers thing, right?" Ino rolled her eyes at him behind the counter. "Well done, Naruto, I'm not only a kunoichi but a florist as well." Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and gave her a sheepish smile. Yeah, I know that, I was just checking." "So, is there a floral arraignment that says sorry I left on a month-long mission and told you with a note?" Ino narrowed her eyes at him. "You did that?" Naruto nodded. "You're still alive? How is it that fangirl didn't kill you?" Naruto shrugged. "When I got home last night, Temari was really worn out from watching Sakura-chan. I rubbed her shoulders when I tucked her into bed and I had to report to Bachan this morning. She hasn't really had time to go off on me yet." Ino nodded. "Alright, I'll help you save your butt this time, Whiskers, but only because I need you alive to snap forehead out of whatever it is she's doing." "Thanks Ino-chan, you're awesome." Naruto beamed at the girl, completely missing the bush his comment caused. "So, what can I use?" Ino moved to a display case and rapidly assembled a bouquet. "These are desert lilies I grew from the leftover seeds from when you and Gaara made that oasis for Temari. I can't promise that these will save you, but since they are her favorite flower, it's worth a shot." "Yada!" Naruto yelled, wrapping Ino up in a bear hug. "Thanks Ino-chan, you're the greatest." Grabbing the bouquet and tossing some bills on the counter, Naruto dashed out of the shop and headed home. Behind him, Ino slowly sank onto her stool, behind the counter blushing furiously. "No way," she whispered to herself. "There is just no way, I can't like him." It was perhaps fortunate for Ino's state of mind that she didn't see her father watching her from the entrance to the back of the shop. Most interesting indeed. Hurrying home, Naruto was disappointed to find a note from Temari saying she would be home in the late afternoon. Pulling out a vase, Naruto placed the flowers in some water and then took a deep breath as he headed upstairs. Opening the door to Sakura's room, he hid a wince when he saw her staring blankly at the ceiling. Sitting himself in the chair next to the bed, Naruto reached over and laid his hand on her shoulder gently. "Hello Sakura-chan. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya."